Shalom. First and foremost, Rakatha Yahweh, Rakatha Yahweh Shai, call Loyam Wakabah like Yahweh, Bashum, Yahweh Shai, Bashum, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone who rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations unto those who elect tabernacle of David. I just want to share a few words in response to this documentary, which just was published August 25th. And as you can see in the title, why African Americans are taking up arms. And that's dealing with, the tribe of Judah, all right, the so-called African Americans, in which, Jake is under the curse heavy. And, Jake, especially in Babylon, the place of our captivity, you know, we're, we basically are a prey to our enemies. All right, we're singled out, we're marginalized, and we're the most attacked group of all groups in this society, followed by the other tribes of Israel. The Gadites, they don't never talk about that. A lot of Gadites be getting, killed, getting locked up. Same with Judah. Same with, Ephraim, Issachar. But we primarily focusing on Judah because Judah is the head. So they bear the brunt end of the curses. You know. But this is why Jake is now resorting to these tactics of, wanting to feel protected. You know. So now they're taking up arms. I see where everything is going. Poverty is increasing, crime is skyrocketing. Esau, his horns is showing. You having more and more incidences of police resorting back to they old typical way of slaughtering Jake and making a public example out of him before the world. You recently had a situation, and where was it at, man? But the young Jake name was Donovan Lewis. They barged into his apartment while he was in his bed, and the very second they bust open the door, one of the officers put a bullet in him. You know, he didn't even have time to even resist, and that was caught right on the body camera. And then just a month before that, you had a Jake in Ohio who the police they unloaded on, and he was hit with 60 times, and he was unarmed. Now we know ultimately, the Most High is using Esau to judge Jake. The scriptures talk about pursuant to was that Job 19 and 29 to be afraid of the sword because the sword is a form of judgment. All right, and the Lord, brings that upon our people, when they're not right. You know, Job 19 verse 29: Be ye afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that you may know there is a judgment. And there's spirits of vengeance. All right, every day that pours out that force of the sword. All right, and I always say Esau, he's always been a spirit of vengeance against Jacob. Then the whole entire time, and that's why it's nothing. They do not despise blood. All right. So anyway, I'm not gonna play this whole video, but I wanted to kind of zero in, focus on an opening statement that was said in this documentary by the leader of this gun club, which is based in Colorado, and he goes by the name of Anubis Haru, which I found that odd in itself. This guy more than likely, he probably came up under that Kemet, you know, uh, Egyptology ideology, which we know, our people are lost, you know, going following after the ways of Egypt. So he names himself after two Egyptian deities, which are basically based on mythology. All right, myth. So our people are clearly, they're destroyed for the lack of knowledge, man. All right, but this dude, he's actually leading these people in this gun club. And what do the scriptures say about those that lead our people? Isaiah 9:16, it says, "For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed." Okay? And like it says in the Apocrypha, my people are led as a flock to the slaughter. And when you follow in these type of individuals, you pretty much are being led to the slaughter. All right? Because, yeah, we're under attack. We've been under attack since we've been brought over here. But there's a reason why we suffer these punishments, all right, in this land, because we pissed the Heavenly Father off. All right, we're under the curse for a reason. We disobeyed. But it's nothing new under the sun. Jake always, at some point, in the midst of captivity, once it got bitter and Jake gets tired of the abuse, Jake gets to rebelling. They get to talk about defending themselves and swinging back, you know, getting defensive, protecting themselves against the oppression, against the attack from the enemy. But why are these things happening? But anyway, let's listen real quick. And I'm not gonna play this too long. But this is just as a reminder, this is the wrong spirit to have, especially when you come into this truth. Because you got certain Israelites that would actually support this guy. Just like they came out and they openly supported that agent, that fake agent provocateur, who was more than likely set up by the FBI or the CIA, Grandmaster Fake. And where the hell is he at? Where he been? All these different groups and movements, it always gets infiltrated. It's like an infiltrated, Salakia. It always gets infiltrated. Okay? Esau is gonna figure out a way to get a hand into that movement or that organization. Because everything is on this man's radar. He's watching everything. All right. So anyway, let's watch this.
Guns in America. It's a long-standing tradition, but a new culture is growing. The number of black gun owners is surging.
No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves.
Anubis here.
That opening statement right there. No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. So he's definitely not a believer, or he does not believe in the scriptures. He more than likely has discrepancies with the scriptures, which makes sense if he calls himself by the name of two different Egyptian deities, which are Anubis, because he goes by the name of Anubis Haru. Anubis, he was basically a jackal-headed demon who was supposed to represent the god of the dead. All right, he was supposed to embalm on the mummification of dead kings in the so-called afterworld, if you will. So dealing with the dead, which the Egyptians, they were about the dead. You even have a book called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Lord is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And those of you that follow this truth, and you believe on these words, and the word is in you, you got life in you. But when you don't have this word in you, you don't have this understanding. What does it say in Proverbs? And this is the reason why a lot of our people are led to destruction. Let's get what was that, Proverbs? I think it might be 21. Yeah, Proverbs 21:16, it says, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. You're gonna continue to be dry. All right, them dry bones in the valley spoken of in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, because you don't have the breath, you don't have the moisture, which the breath is the inspiration of the Most High that gives you the understanding of His words, His wisdom, and that's what makes you alive. This is what quickens us. All right, it says in Revelation 11th chapter in the 8th verse that their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. All right, those dead bodies are talking about Jake. Our people are dead, still call themselves black, still don't know who they are, and some of them they're starting to get knowledge of who they are because they hearing us, the prophets, the Israelites, the different camps out there being vocal. Everybody's starting to wake up and know about this whole thing, but Jake is still picking and choosing what they want to believe. Some of them they still choose not to identify, even though it's been not acknowledged to them. It's been made known to them the truth. All right. So they willfully would rather remain in the congregation of the dead, and they're being led by a guy who names himself after a Egyptian deity who represents the god of basically the dead, mummification. You see. So yeah, man, Jake is dried up, and like when you read was that Isaiah the no, I think it's Jeremiah. It talks about how people they hewn out broken cisterns that can hold no water, and once that water dries up, you you're basically you're no different than a dead body, you know, straight into mummification status. Jeremiah 2:13, for my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountains of living waters, and hewed out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. All right, no profit, no benefit. All right, when we have the fountain of living water here, all right, which is these scriptures, the word gives us life. If our people was to follow it, they wouldn't have to resort to these tactics. They wouldn't have to worry about being marginalized and attacked by everybody, having no assurance of their life. You know, Jake is doing this because they have no assurance of their life. They don't know if they're going to be the next victim, and then they don't believe that anybody's coming to save them. That's how you know that they Israel. They're hopeless. They don't think that there's going to be a day where we're going to be rescued. We're going to be delivered from all this oppression, from these curses, from our enemies, from this captive condition, you know. But that comes from Jake being in that state of, complete bondage. It tells you in Isaiah the 42nd chapter that my people are, they're hidden, they're snared in prison houses, you know, all of them they're therefore pray and none say of deliver. Well, that's going back to the curse. And no man shall buy you. You shall serve as bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, meaning no man will redeem you. Nobody's going to save you. But we do have a savior, and his name is Yahushua. He is the savior, he is deliverer. But if you don't believe, you're going to take matters into your own hands. All right. So anyway, jumping down to verse 17, it says, hast thou not procured this unto thyself, and that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy power when he led thee by the way? And now what hast thou to do in the way of Egypt, to drink the waters of Sihor? And what hast thou to do in the way of Assyria to drink waters of the river? Okay, it's not going to benefit you at the end of the day. Plus, that Egyptian shit is getting played out, man. The Egyptians, they've been stopped being a dominant civilization thousands of years. Why are we still talking about Egypt? But Jake just have that infatuation, man. But anyway, going back to let me bring that back because he thinks this is what has the power to save us. Let me play this again.
In America. It's a long-standing tradition, but a new culture is growing. The number of black gun owners is surging.
No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves.
Anubis Hiru is one of the people at the forefront of a movement to empower the black community through firearms.
There it is. And how many of these have been risen up and sent to lead our people? I already mentioned one of them, and where is he at? And I don't know if this guy's set up or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. But any of these guys that rose up in time and came with this same approach, where did it go? It's still the same BS. And Jake's still getting laid down in the street. All right? Because you're giving for a prey. Or bless ye Yahweh that have not given me to the mouth, given me to their mouth as a prey, man. All right? And basically, you have not made me a prey to their teeth. And a gun is not going to save you. All right? Let's get some scriptures on that. Psalms 44, verse 6. I start at verse 4. It says, Thou art my king, O power, command deliverances for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name we will tread them under that rise up against us. And we're not going to do that by our own power. All right? The power that we're going to need is going to come strictly down from heaven. There's no way in hell you niggas have a chance against this beast. All right? I put up a video this week on how, you had Elon Musk, he was warning about the dangers of AI. The motherfuckers are so advanced, man. All right, and they're the military robots, they're very lethal, very tactical. And what you're gonna do? You're gonna shoot the robot? They're very precise. And then I posted the clip where a lady was going into the reports of how they lost control of these military robots in a lab in Japan, and them robots laid down 39 people. So you ain't gonna be able to do nothing against that. You watch Boston Dynamics and the shit that they got on there. Come on, man. That's I always said it. Them robots, them AI drones, them robot dogs, the shit you see in RoboCop, all that. That's gonna be your true ops, man. They ain't even gotta use an actual human. This man was blessed with the sword for real. And you're not gonna outsword Esau. You simply can't do it. That's not how. We're not gonna take him down by that. Now, if you want to defend yourself against, crime, and you want to protect your home, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a sin. You know, if that's the thing that you want to do, hey, you do that. Okay? You want to protect your home from invaders, intruders, etc. There's nothing wrong with that. But this devil coming down, we will not be able to push him down using his blessing. That's his blessing. All right. We gotta wait from for the power. All right. And Jake don't really believe in that. It says, "For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us." All right, because ultimately the Lord's going to use his right hand to save us and deliver us from our enemies. Let's get that in Isaiah 59. And it says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against them." All right, and that's where the source of power comes from, the spirit of the Most High. All right, and he's going to do supernatural things that you wouldn't even fathom, because he's done it in the past. He's demonstrated that in the past. When we read about it, and it gives us hope. It builds our faith up. All right, the Lord, doing miraculous things to defend his people. We're not. Hey, the Lord's going to defend us. Okay, and when that time comes, you're gonna know. Let's real quick. Yeah, let's go to Zechariah, the 12th chapter. Yeah, this is Zechariah 12. Yeah, Zechariah 12 and 7, it says, "The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah." And that's why you see, Judah woken up first. All right, when his truth sprung out, it was mainly Judah. And then, the other tribes started to, you know, gravitate, and they assembled, all right, hearing this gospel, okay? Because the Lord is building the house of, the house of David. The tabernacle of David that was fallen in ruin is now being built back up, and all the tribes were a part of the house of David. David was just from the direct chosen line of Judah. Okay. Verse 8, it says, "In that day shall the Lord defend." All right. So are we going to defend ourselves with guns, ammunition, or is the Lord going to defend us? In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And how is he going to do that? "And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David," which David was a mighty warrior, man. He was able to break a metal, with his arm. He was able to leap over high walls. He was able to slay tens of thousands of men in battle. You fight with 5 dudes, you getting your ass beat, and you're gonna get tired after 2 minutes, probably a minute and a half. All right, but he said, "He that is feeble," meaning you weak, your strength ain't up to par, and we're feeble because not only did the Lord take down our stature, but being in this society, everything is going to shit, man. The earth is defiled of the inhabitants. All right, it's languishing and fading. It's lost its strength. The food doesn't have the nutrients that it's supposed to have anymore. It's all, loaded with contaminants, toxins, chemicals, basically poison, and it keeps us, feeble, mentally and physically. Well, the Lord's gonna upgrade us in that day, and we're gonna be like David, man. And the house of David shall be as God, meaning the Elohim, the powers, because the habitation of the Lord is going to be with his men. He's going to turn us into a weapon, all right? As the angel of the Lord before them, we're going to have the strength and power of the angels. And the angels have the ability to do all things, man. That's how the Lord's going to defend us. He's going to bring his divine intervention into the mix. We don't have to worry about firing a weapon. We got to hurry up and run to your closet and grab a damn AR or whatever you got. You might not even have time to do that in that day when that time comes, when that insurrection happens. So this is our faith. See? So I'd rather wait on this than to resort to this same old tactic. Now you had men in the past, all right, which was it Gamaliel that was talking about it? Where men rose up, thinking themselves to be something, and what happened? You could just go into the history. All right, the Zealot groups, the so-called revolutionaries of our people back then. Acts 5:35, it says, and said unto them, let me go up. Verse 34 says, then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space, and said unto them, you men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what you intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rose up Theudas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. You see, nothing new under the sun, man. Okay, these different, uh, uh, activist movements and gun clubs, and going back to the 60s when you had the civil rights movement, you had the Black Panthers and Green Berets. Tenets from those different groups still remained, and Jake took on even decades later to keep it going. Forming new factors and branches and stuff like that. But is watered down from the original uh factions. And they rose up, and Jake was like, damn, yeah, everybody was down, everybody's throwing up that fist. But then what happened? Esau got involved, intervened, infiltrated, sent spies and rats among them, and brought their whole operations down. Had Jake scatter, had Jake, taking drugs. Jake got strung out. They brought the crack cocaine epidemic right in. Because none of these things, even though it's a sign of uprising, but the Most High was not with any of these movements, and that's why it came to naught. So that's why all these little groups and movements that gain a little traction, you'll hear about it for a minute, but then you won't hear anything about it. It just completely, it just goes back under the radar. Esau ain't threatened by y'all. He know he can wipe y'all out easily. He'll run right through you, man. But he's more triggered at the prophets, and all we do is just preach. we bring out the Bible, man, and prophesy against his kingdom. That's more so of a threat and on his radar than you. They was talking about the Black Identity extremist report a couple years back, but the Black Hebrew Israelites was always the face of that topic. Our name always kept being brought up more than all the other so-called black identity groups. Why is that? Hey, they know what time it is, man. This is what they actually fear, because this ain't of men. It's a higher power that's conducting and assembling what we have going. It's not of ourselves, man. So they're definitely afraid. All right. This is verse 50, it's like at verse 37. It says, after this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, he, and through him was the form of them Zealot groups that formed the Sicarii. All right. And drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. So same thing happened with them. And we know what happened in 70 AD later when they caused that war, with the Romans. Jake got slaughtered. We got besieged. We got starved out. And they ransacked the temple once again. And then you got the Ark of Titus that commemorates that event. Them taking and storming out with all our stuff out of the temple. All right. It says, and now I say unto you, refrain from these men and let them alone. For if this counsel or work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it. Lest happily you be found even to fight against the Most High power. And you can't do nothing against the truth before it. All right. If the Most High be for us, who could be against us? All right. And the Lord's going to avenge his elect. He's going to defend his men. All right. So we believe that the Lord's going to lift up that standard eventually. We won't need to resort to guns. To hell with a damn gun. Guns jam. Okay. Sometimes you don't even get a chance to have the time to even, pick up your gun. Because when it's in the moment, hey, it can happen quickly. So it's best to just, rely upon your faith. The just shall live by faith, man. But our people are faithless. That's why they have to resort to this. All right. And this is, a carnal mindset, which Jake, even in the truth, have this same mindset. All right. What does it say about having a carnal mind? All right, Romans 8 and verse 5. And it says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. All right. To be spiritually minded is life and peace. To be carnally minded is death. All right. You live by that sword. Hey, you're gonna die by it. You're gonna perish with it. All right. Because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, for it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can be. So, we're not gonna, trust in no sword. But no, you're not wicked. You're not sinning if you actually happen to purchase one or own one. All right, that if that's something that you into that. Okay, but a lot of these Jake, they not gonna make it. Now Jake got that fight in them. They gonna put up a fight, but we know how it's gonna end. Because two parts of them, they're gonna be cut off and die anyway. If Yahweh Shem Yahushai is not on your side and you're not of the elect, somehow, some way, you're gonna get your issue. Such as for the sword to the sword, such as for the famine to the famine. Such as for, whatever you're numbered to. But this ain't gonna deliver you from judgment. Because at the end of the day, this is the sword of the Most High. Disappoint him, cast him down, deliver our soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. So the Lord's going to have to intervene with his right hand, and he's going to save us. Let's get Psalms 98. And it says, "O sing unto the Lord a new song, for he have done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have gotten him the victory." And that's how we're going to be delivered, man, by his right hand. Okay? Which Yahweh Shai is who sits upon the right hand. He's coming to bring us salvation. All right? And our victory is not going to come by way of arms. It's going to come by the power that comes from heaven. Kabeej, real quick. I remember a few years back, we got on them dudes, Believers in the Way, because they were talking about setting up a neighborhood watch for Israel and arming themselves and talking about, protecting Jake from the police. You ain't gonna do a damn thing, man. That whole revolution spirit, you ain't gonna do nothing. You fall right into that, you gonna fall by it. All right. But let's get Second Maccabees. And them dudes had the nerve to get upset and start scoffing because we checked them on it. Because that's not the spirit to be in. Second Maccabees 15 in verse I'll start at 1, but the point is at verse 8, just to give it context. And Nicanor and they was about to come and attack us on the Sabbath day. This was during the time of the Maccabees brothers. It says, 2 Maccabees 15:1, "But Nicanor, hearing that Judas and his company were in the strong places about Samaria, resolved without any danger to set upon them on the Sabbath day. Nevertheless, the Jews that were compelled to go with them said, O destroy not so cruelly and barbarously, but give honor to that day which he that seeth all things have honored with holiness above all other days. Then the most ungracious wretch demanded, if there be a mighty one in heaven that had commanded the Sabbath day to be kept. And when they said, there is in heaven a living Lord and mighty, who commanded the Sabbath day to be kept." Because they was concerned, like, yo, we got to keep the Sabbath day holy. We can't go out to war. But this is what he said to the comfort, the men. It says, "Then said the other, and I also am mighty upon earth, and I command to take arms and to do the king's business. Yet he obtained not to have his wicked will done. So Nicanor, in exceeding pride and haughtiness, determined to set up a public monument over his victory over Judas and them that were with him. But Maccabeus had ever sure confidence that the Lord would help him. Wherefore he exhorted his people not to fear the coming of the heathen against them, but to remember the help which in former times they had received from heaven, and now to expect the victory and aid which should come unto them from the Almighty." See? So the win, it comes directly from our power. All right? Like King David, the confidence that he had, that's what gave him the victory. You see? When the king of Assyria was about to have Jerusalem surrounded, the Lord sent an angel down and slew 187,000 of their troops. They didn't even get a chance to make a move at all. And we thought we was gonna have to protect ourselves and get in stance, to defend our city, and the Lord sent the angel to do the work for them. So those are just examples. And then we always, in this time, the angels always show up. We always see in chariots. All right, and it always seemed like the Lord makes it to where we can only see them, because like when we at camp and the chariot comes, we look up. The Spirit always have us looking up, and when we look up, you always see a chariot or a couple chariots. Sometimes it might even be a fleet of them. But other people, they just be walking by, totally oblivious, don't know what's going on, and I think that's done on purpose, man. That's for a reason. The Lord's giving us assurance that, hey, man, my eyes are upon you. All right, I'm with you. Hey, um, Psalms 34:7, the angels encamp around about those that fear Him. But Jake, in the world that have no knowledge of these things, they're not going to understand. So yeah, their natural response is to get carnal. We got to go get guns. We gotta train ourselves in shooting. All right. So that's pretty much the point. These are just a few words that I had. Watching this little documentary here. There's a lot more scriptures that I would have wanted to bring out, but I don't want to make this too drawn out. So I'm gonna probably just cap it right there, and I'll leave a link to this in the description box. Because we didn't even get a whole minute into this video. So y'all can watch it, and I'm gonna just leave the link in the description box. So Lord willing, this was edifying, and give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. To the next lesson, Shalom.